Today we're at Vauquois Hill, a little bit west of Verdun, and we're here to check out the hill where the German and French trenches were so close together and there was extensive mining warfare from both sides. We're going to check out some of the craters, check out some of the trench remains and take a look at Vauquois Hill. When the Germans moved into this area of France in 1914, Vauquois Hill became of immediate strategic value. It's a high ridge where you can see miles around. Now, after the Germans had initially captured the village at the top of the hill, the French tried to attack it with thousands of men on more than one occasion. Unfortunately, due to them attacking uphill and the Germans occupying the buildings at the top, their attacks were unsuccessful and cost them a lot of casualties. That was when they turned to a different strategy of mine warfare, to tunnel underneath the top of the hill and try to literally blow the Germans from their positions at the top. After the French had tunnelled under the village and blown up the German positions, the Germans responded with their own tunnels, and that's why we end up with a situation where there are so many mine craters along the ridge here. Due to the extensive destruction, the actual village of Vauquois was completely destroyed. Today we can just see a few remains of it. So as you arrive up towards the top of the hill here, you can see some of the defensive remains that are still here, the barbed wire and the defensive positions. Some of this would have been recreated slightly, but still you can see what remains of the defence here. This is the French side of the hill, so we're currently on the south side of the ridge. So I mentioned that the mining warfare largely destroyed the village of Vauquois. Well, what remains of Vauquois village today is this. Behind me here you can just see this huge line of cratered ground. We're currently on the top of the ridge. We're stood now on the south side of the ridge. Just over here is the north side of the ridge. The brow of the hill would have been here between us. Instead today we have a line of huge craters going all the way through east to west. So along here next to us we have some of what would have been the French defensive positions, and then across here in between us we have the line of craters, and on the far side of the ridge we can see what would have been the German defensive positions. So when you come up to the top of the ridge here, they have something to kind of show you. Here's what the village would have looked like. The grey bits being the buildings and the yellow bits being where some of the major mines were exploded. You can see right through the village here. They also have some artwork and pictures to show you some of the village of Vauquois, but today it looks like this. So you can see there's a row of craters all the way along, right the way through the top of this hill here. On the far side over there you can see that little white sign. That is to mark where the church sat here in the centre of Vauquois. Just slightly back from the ridge, and literally this is the crater run kind of right through over here. Just slightly back from the ridge you can see the remains of the French trenches that ran all through here along the top of the ridge. Right, we're going to go take a little walk over to the other side and see what's happening on the German side of the ridge. So they have these couple of walkways where you can walk down into the centre of what would have been the village of Vauquois here on top of the hill. So we're going to just head down there now, make sure I don't trip as I'm going, and see what we can see from there. So we're now stood right in the centre of Vauquois. Up there is the French ridge. here in front of it you have these huge craters. Now I don't know how much these are showing on camera, but to give you an idea, that is probably 50-60 feet deep this side. On the other side we have the German side of the hill, and again huge craters that run all the way down the length of this ridgeline. So when you first arrive over on the German side, we've just crossed over from the French side of the hill here. First thing that you walk into are these. Now these rock formations here aren't natural. These are the remains of buildings that were people's homes, people's places of work, people's places of worship. We're now in the ruins of the village of Vauquois. Okay, so we've just come down into what was the German frontline position here at the top of the hill, and you can see it's not far. Just over there is the French side of the ridge. So where we just were in the German frontline position is just up there, and we've just worked our way back ever so slightly, and if you come down here, they have got set up an old German trench mortar position just here. This is just a really short distance back from the front line. To give you an idea, the distance from here to the French front line, probably less than 100 meters. Okay, so we're just working our way through the German frontline positions once more, and if you can't already tell, it is driving with rain here. It is fairly horrible conditions. So what the guys here had to deal with in the winter, the cold, the snow, and let's not forget, I'm just here on what is ultimately a tourist trip. There's no one trying to kill me here. Now when we get to this point here, you can see how close. This is where the German frontline position was, and just across there is the French frontline position. Somebody with a good arm could easily throw a grenade from here to there. Wow. So we're just working our way back through, away from the German front line. And round here gives you a good chance to see some of the entrances to the mining works that they were building here. Now you can see here a little entrance into somewhere, and just round this corner is another one. So when you come down here, we're not far away, probably kind of 20 yards or so from the front line. Here is a great example of one of the mine entrances. Now you can see there's some signs saying no entry, but don't worry, the good news is that in our next video we will be exploring these tunnels, so make sure you stick around for that one. Close quarters fighting here, combined with the mine warfare, meant thousands of casualties for both sides, and it's still believed that there are up to 8,000 casualties who are completely lost and lie out here on the hill, or of course under the hill, in the tunnels still today. Now to give you an idea, these tunnels and mine entrances are everywhere. I'm actually just working my way back through down the hill now to finish off the video, and I've just passed by another one, this tunnel that just goes straight down into the darkness. My goodness, I would not fancy climbing down there today, let alone in a situation where there was warfare going on here. So here we've got another one of the tunnel entrances, running straight through from a German trench. So the German trench line runs along here behind us, and just off to the back of it we have one of the tunnels that goes down and then along into the hill face itself. Soldiers were brought in here to Vauquois Hill especially for the tunnelling job. Men who had jobs prior to the war in things like coal mines were brought here especially to dig the tunnels. Now fortunately for the French, as they first started to dig, and of course as the Germans soon found out as well, the ground here is perfect for tunnelling. The bedrock is solid and stable and enabled them to build strong tunnels with little risk of collapse. So the place where we've just walked down to now is just off the kind of west end of the hill, and here is actually where one of the largest mines was blown. And from here you can see directly down the valley that was created by all the mines here. When we look straight ahead, you are looking at what was the village of Vauquois. So when you come here, they have these kind of panels that actually show you the mine here exploding, and you can kind of see sort of in the middle here where the hill was, and then in the after photo there is a dip where the hill was. Well, that was right here. Right here in front of us is where one of the largest mines was blown here during the fighting in 1916. The close-up and underground warfare here raged through till 1918. Heavy casualties on both sides, and it would remain that way until September 1918, when the Americans swarmed over this hill as part of the Meuse-Argonne offensive. So I hope you guys found this video interesting, exploring the remains of Vauquois Hill, the mine craters and the trench remains that sit here at the top. This is a fascinating place to come, and I highly recommend it for anyone visiting either Verdun or the Meuse-Argonne sector. This is very accessible from both of those two areas. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favour, do all the usual YouTube stuff, hit the like button, subscribe, etc, etc. Guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to see you on the next one.